Hello and welcome to Italy. Hang on a second. Let's rewind that because no good vacation starts without travel.
It's aggressive. What do you... Okay. All right. It works.
We've got to set the tone for this trip. As some of you know, we were going for a wedding, which means that a few of our friends from San Diego were also traveling with us. So exciting, right? Well, we get to the airport and we see someone that kind of looks like one of our friends, but they're on crutches, so that can't be them. Except when they get a little bit closer, we realize it definitely was them. And that's how we're kicking off this vacation, and kind of gives you a premise for how the rest of this is gonna go. So let's get into it. After 14 hours of a plane ride, a layover in Germany, another plane ride, and a trip to the hotel, we are finally here. And regardless of being sleep deprived, we are going to go find some food. But first, let's take a quick peek at this hotel room because it is absolutely beautiful and deserves love.
Oh, it's little Pac-Man. This is day one in Rome. Technically, it's night one because we just got here and I don't know how I have energy to go walk around the city and go find pizza, but I do. So let's go, honey.
Okay.
Let's go explore Rome.
Tired.
I'm lost. Okay, it's this way and then that way and then over there. That's not it. That's not where we want to go. We want to keep going. Okay, it's a left of this one. That was a very confusing left. San Marcos, look. There's a sign. Oh, I found it. I got us here, honey. That's all that matters. Sure did. This is what we came here for. That's it.
I specifically picked this room because of how beautiful it was and the view that it had overlooking this beautiful garden in the background. I highly recommend that anytime you're traveling to look for a place with a beautiful view because waking up to scenery absolutely sets the tone for the day. Welcome to day one in Rome. Today, we're gonna go shopping. You know me, I have to go look at the local thrift stores and there's a local market with all vintage goods. So that's what we're gonna go do today. Right, Grant?
Right.
Let's go see. I was actually so excited to go thrifting in Italy, but when we got there, it was so overwhelming. We hadn't pulled out cash and there were so many people. So we just decided to look around a little bit and then wander off to discover the rest of the city.
Oh, that's really cool.
Now, I had 3 goals while we were in Italy and 2 days before we met up with all of our friends for the wedding to do all of them. Sounds easy enough, right? Remember how I said our friend was on crutches and that set the tone for the trip? Yeah, now that's coming into play. So my 3 goals were to see a cat, go to a local pharmacy, which is basically Italy's version of a CVS, and eat pasta. The first day, we saw all of the sights and walked everywhere in the city. And by everywhere, I mean we walked 12 miles the first day. We saw the Colosseum, the Roman Forum, the Trevi Fountain, which, if you don't know, there is a little spot off to the right of the fountain called the Lover's Fountain. Why is this important? Because the actual fountain is so crowded with people that you can barely see it from the crowd. I knew that it was a big landmark for movies, but I did not expect it to be that busy, especially when we went in November. The craziest thing about Rome to me was how the ancient ruins were just casually scattered all over the place through the city. It was like there were these forgotten things just in the middle of the street. One minute you're walking down, you see a modern building, and then the next second you turn a corner and there's just this ancient column sitting there. People are having their smoke breaks out in front of it, just casually talking like it's not even there. It's not in a museum. People aren't touristy looking at them. It just exists. We did find a few ruins that were really cool though. One of my favorites was this city town square thing that housed a colony of feral cats. And the local Italians ran a rescue there where they would TNR them, or trap and neuter. Neuter and release? Something like that. And then they would house the ones that had a permanent disability, which was absolutely heartwarming to see. These cats were so adorable. I loved hanging out with all of them. This was probably the highlight of my trip, which I know, we're in Italy and I'm looking at cats.
Okay.
You're so cute. They're so sleepy.
Everybody's very sleepy today.
Look at this guy. Oh, you're missing your ears.
After that, we went and visited some historical sites because you can't go to Rome without looking at the Colosseum. But what was really different to me about the historical sites in Rome is that when I'm used to visiting things in the United States, you can still kind of see the structure of what it was 100 years ago. You can put yourself in the shoes of the people that walked through the historical site and talk about the history as if you could live it yourself. In Rome, it's not quite the same because everything is just rubble. So you've got to use a lot more of your imagination to figure out what's going on. You can still see elements of the house like the marble flooring or the way the rooms were sectioned off, but none of it's really protected or covered in the same way you would expect something hundreds or thousands of years old to be. Adding on to that, let's talk about the sheer volume of tourists that were in Italy, because I also was not prepared for how many people were everywhere. There were some sites like the Vatican that I couldn't truly enjoy because of how many people were there. Our tour guide for the Vatican was telling us the entire time, multiple times, that once we were in the Sistine Chapel, we could not talk and we could not take pictures. And I didn't actually realize we were in the Sistine Chapel until about 15 seconds afterwards because of how loud it was and how many people had their phones out. And this was in the off season. Do not get me wrong, I absolutely loved the beauty of the city. I just wasn't prepared for what I was going to expect. And we did go out of Rome and went to Florence, and I had a much better time enjoying the sights and scenery because of how less touristy the area was. My other favorite part about Italy was going to little cafes in the afternoon or for breakfast. Sitting and people watching while you're drinking your little cappuccino, but only in the morning, was so relaxing and enjoyable. You felt really immersed in their culture. We did have a very funny, authentic Italian experience where we were walking around shops looking for gifts for people to take home with us, and the shop owner comes over and asks us if we're going to buy something. And we respond, no, we're just looking. And he proceeds to tell us, well, then we need to come back and look later because it's his coffee break and we got to get out. That's definitely not something you would experience in America, and we all had a good time laughing about it. We all had a good time reminiscing on how different it is here, where they value their work-life balance. Now, back to our list of things that I wanted to do in Italy. To find a pharmacy. Now, I specifically wanted to find a pharmacy because there were these dupes of perfume that I've heard about, and I wanted to see if they held up to the real things. And for 15 euros, they absolutely do. It was incredible. They all smell so good, and they actually have a list of all of the numbers of perfume, and the dupe for the expensive perfume they match up to. Grant and I both got one because they have women and men's perfume.
That it is like the dupe of the more expensive perfume. But as you can see, these are much cheaper. And they all smell delightful.
Come buy stuff for me too, you know, alright.
Which one is what, 70 and 68 we liked?
Now for my final goal, eat pasta. You would think this would be the easiest of all of them in Italy, but I knew we were going to a pasta cooking class, so I wanted to save this for that class so I didn't get an overload of pasta beforehand. This class, however, was outside the city, and we had to take the train system to get there. And the train system is incredibly confusing for someone who's never taken public transit the way they do in Europe. We actually missed our train because it was on station 20B and not 20. We were waiting at 20 and didn't realize we had to walk all the way to the end to go to the other train station. So luckily Uber works in Italy, but not very well because they don't like to drive too far out of the way. So it took us a while. We eventually did make it to the class. We were a little bit late, but everyone was so welcoming and we were just thankful to finally be there. I do have the entire video of this pasta making class if anyone would like to watch the authentic pasta making experience. It was so much fun. It is very easy to make pasta, and we actually made it at home afterwards. I do want to talk about how cool the houses were in Italy because down below they had an ancient wine cellar that you can actually see the pickaxe marks of where they hand carved it out of the volcanic rock. This home had been passed down for generations, and even the owner didn't know how old it was. But there were some key indicators that suggested that it was from ancient Roman times as well. The coolest part is that the tunnel systems connected to other houses underneath the city as well, and they actually used them in World War II to help people get out of the city. Again, the most amazing thing about Italy was just the rich, dense culture and history every step you took. There was something that had happened hundreds or thousands of years ago that's just so cool and awesome to learn. Leave me a comment if you want to see the full video of the pasta making class, or if you have been to Italy and have any other recommendations for other people looking to go. I got most of my recommendations from the internet and watching videos, so let's share that love and spread it to more people that are looking to go and are interested in learning different histories and cultures around the world. Well, it is our last night in Italy. As you can see, we're getting packed up, get ready for the airport, go home, and take like 5 hours of naps tomorrow because we're not going to be ready for the real world. But thank you for being along with me on this journey. I hope you enjoyed everything that you saw. And if you have been to Italy or want to go to Italy, leave your comments of anything that I missed or any places that you've been that I shared in this video. Thank you all. I will see you all in the next one. Say bye, honey.
Bye, honey.